Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Allergic to Stupidity. Lots of evenings I come on just because I feel there's a connection to whoever or whatever is out there listening to me. To my new friends that are out there, to old friends that are out there, thank you for tuning in. As few of you as there is, or as many of you as there is. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share, etc. Leave some comments. But tonight, I need to vent. Not mad vent, just WTF. In the last 24 hours, I'm just sitting here going, yeah, that's all I can say. And somebody who, I always classify a friend as somebody who I take out for coffee. And she started as a client, and I wouldn't hesitate now to take her out for coffee without hesitation. In fact, as I apologized to her girls in the evening, I said, I gotta talk to Mom for 5. Because she's very, not neutral. I know which way she leans, but she's not aggressive. She's not passive aggressive. She discusses both sides, and she makes a point of trying to see both sides. And this came on today, which is what and she went, this is draining. This is emotionally exhausting, what's going on. And it's not just one little thing, it's all of it. And she's right. My son has said it before, and I've said it. This is emotionally exhausting. But what's really slapped me in the face, and we all want to grumble and scream and yell at Trump and his administration and the Americans and how dare they do the tariffs to us. And I agree. Why are they doing the tariffs? Like, this isn't logical. And a lot of political leaders, Canadian political leaders, and European political leaders will say, it's not the American people we're upset at. Please understand, the American people, we're not upset. We're upset at your administration. But having said that, what's happened to our American friends? I've always grown up with that tongue-in-cheek, they're our stupid American cousins kind of, roll our eyes at just being Americans again kind of mentality. Just, we're just living north of them, and there's always about big corporations and minimum tax and using resources to the nth degree. It's always about that proverbial dollar, and we just shrugged it off to being that was that eccentric cousin. That was just the United States. But when we needed them, they were there for us. But lately, people I know who are Americans and now live in Ontario go, I have no idea, Bev. I haven't got any idea. And here are a couple of things. I got 3 of them for you. Now, this is not the American people. This is the administration, except for one of them. The first one was, which is really what caught my eye, it's a Canadian woman was detained nearly 2 weeks by immigration officials in the United States, is now back on home soil. And what happened was, here, I'm going to read it for you. It came off of MSN, if anybody's curious. She had been in custody with the United States immigration officials since March the 3rd, when her visa was denied as she tried to enter California from Mexico. Well, first of all, she's Canadian. So we did have this, I could come and go. My tenant's taken his scouting kids down to the U.S. I've taken cadets down to the U.S. and brought them back. Nobody said boo. What are you here for? Oh, we're on such and such camp, or we're on such and such. We didn't have any bells and whistles, as long as every kid had a Canadian identity. And they had their passports. Nowadays they have to have their passports or the Nexus card with something. But as long as they had that, welcome to the U.S. And they were coming in. And she gets denied as she enters California from Mexico with her Canadian passport on her, proving she was Canadian. And she's worked in the U.S. She was also going there to renew her work visa, which, as somebody who's worked overseas, you have to do every so often, because your work visas are for 2 years or 3 years or whatever you signed up. And then at the end of that period, if you're really smart, you do it a few months early so there's an overlap. You renew it. Say, yeah, I still have the job. Right. And you just continue. She was detained at a border crossing near San Diego and then transferred to a detention center in Arizona. She was placed in inhumane conditions in a cell holding 30 people with limited bathroom facilities. They were housed together in one single concrete cell with no natural light, fluorescent lights that have never turned on, no mats, no blankets. She is not a criminal, and there was no reason why her deportation had been delayed. So she comes across, they don't want her, then just deport her. Why are you putting her in jail? And she has worked in California. Like I said, she was just coming to renew her work visa. The statement was she did not have any legal documentation to be in the country. So that means every tourist that wants to come to the U.S. to check out the Statue of Liberty or things down in Texas or Nevada or Florida can't come. When did this happen? Like, really? The agency said she was processed in accordance with Donald Trump's executive order that all subjects are all aliens in violation of the U.S. immigration law to be possibly arrested. On Thursday, the BC Premier said he urged the Canadian government to do all it could through diplomatic channels to ensure her return. The Premier did say he didn't know all the details of the case, but it was reinforcing Canadians' anxiety about their southern neighbours stemming from the current stuff that's going on between the U.S. and Canada. The nature of a relationship is so fraught right now that this case makes us all wonder, what about our relatives who are working in the United States? That's one. The next one was, this one blows me. A German tourist is detained at the U.S. border amid political policy crackdown. 2 Germans wanting to cross the American-Mexican border. They were detained for several weeks without any given reason for this decision and then were forced to return to their country. According to the media, they fell victim to a system that responded to the tightening policies. They were traveling to the United States, were detained, handcuffed, and then deported. They fell victim to a system that's adjusting to Donald Trump's policies, as reported by German and American media. So it's a 29-year-old and a 25-year-old were held for 46 days. One of them was for 46 days and one was for 16. They were detained at San Diego. As they were counted, they were denied entrance into the United States and transported to crowded detention. They were simply in Mexico and wanted to enter the United States. Let's discourage tourism, guys. Like, literally, let's discourage tourism. This has got me going, I just don't get it. I honestly don't get it. And the third one, which I didn't have it up on my other half of my screen, was, this is that, I don't want to say arrogance, but what happened to our American cousins. It was a woman who is an American and went down to Mexico for a holiday, a concert, and decided to stay over the 120-day visitation. Like, you come to, if I go to the UK just to visit my friends, I have a certain length of time, irrelevant of a work visa, to just go visit my friends. And I'm not sure if it's 120 days or it's 6 months. I think it's 6 months for Canadians to go to the UK. I don't worry about it because I always have a work visa. But when I brought my kids over, they didn't have any problems. They just came over and they stayed 2 or 3 weeks and they left. But she stayed over that 120 days. And then as she was heading back to the United States, they stopped her bus, and they were checking. And she got detained. A, she didn't have her American passport on. B, she overstayed her welcome. She was over her 120 days, so they detained her to deport her back to the United States. And she said, well, I didn't have my passport on, but so what? I have my California ID. In this day and age, you're traveling with your passport. Like when I'm overseas teaching, my passport, I know exactly what it is. And every time I have to go and do something, not shopping or going to work, but if I have to go document something or do something with the bank, my passport's with me, 100%. I have the Canadian consulate in my little notebook of phone numbers. I know exactly where I have to go and exactly what I have to do. I'm not going to take the goodness of the British people or the Scottish people for granted. Love it if I could do the Irish. I know exactly what I'm doing. Why would she go anywhere without her passport? She went to a concert to another country. And she was upset that she got detained. And that they put me on a flight that had 4 or 5 layovers. It was like, this is, like we always laugh at our American cousins for not knowing where countries are or not understanding that there was a war of 1812 and they're the ones that attacked us. That, the going joke of Americans think every country has their own moon. Like some of these things online, it's like, I believe half of them and half of them I don't, because it's like, it's so outlandish. But what happened to our American cousins? What happened to the American people? Like, literally, I just don't know what happened. And as I read these things, and I get scared or nervous or afraid or whatever word I want to have or whatever, I'm afraid for them. We'll be okay. We're heading into rough times. But our government's already looking at making connections with the EU for trade and the Asian countries and New Zealand and Australia. Like, Canada will be okay. But how okay is our American friends going to be? They're hurting. And Trump is just ignoring whatever rules and division of power, which is the basis of theirs is division of power, so nobody has the outright vision of what a king was, which our king can't do that. But I hurt for them. I hurt for my friends here who have American family. I hurt for a student who is American/Canadian. Because is he going to be questioned because he's walking around with a Canadian passport? Or he shows his Canadian passport and he shows his American passport at the same time? All those snowbirds who are being ridiculed and tormented and told to go home. Literally, these are snowbirds that have been going to Florida for 30 years. And now they're being yelled at and told to go back. Go back to where you belong. And a lot of them are going, fine, we're taking our business, we're going back. And one of them said, fine, I'll just start wintering in Portugal or Spain. He said, I'll just find someplace else to go. And all of that's going to affect them so badly and hurt them so badly that I hurt for them. I really do. My rant today is, what the WTF to all our American cousins. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There isn't an American that I've met that I didn't like. But I don't like Americans. I don't like the attitude. It's only gotten worse. They're sticking their heads in the sand and pretending that the problems are everybody else's fault. And as long as you do that, you can't solve your own problems. They're canceling programs that people are going to. I just watched one. It's a grandmother who now has custody of her 4 grandchildren because her daughter and son-in-law can no longer take care of the kids due to domestic violence and addiction. And the SNAP program, which helps pay for food, is being removed. So she's not going to be able to feed her grandchildren. If anybody got between me and me feeding my grandchild, yeah, no thanks. No. They'll be held to pay. And it's not happened with my grandson, but when people have crossed my kids, it's no. You don't hurt my cubs kind of mentality. That goes for my students too, to be honest. So it's WTF tears tonight. I don't know what happened to our American friends, and I'm hurting for them, and I'll be there for them when they figure out they need some help. They've been there for us, we've been there for them, and when they decide, we'll be there for them again. Anyways, take care, guys. See you next time.